it occurred to me there's still so far to go. All the magic.
No, coming now!
Oh, wherever. You washed up.
Sorry?
Welcome to the island of discarded women, my friend.
I used to be somebody. Are you that woman on the radio?
Your island job is peladora de papas.
Sorry, what?
Potato peeler, 87% match for your skills.
Okay, that's not. Anyway, what is the second best match then?
Host of the Island Podcast.
Are you kidding me? No, see, that's me. That's perfect for me.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Gorgeous night on the beach, but man, is it crazy times now, right?
Totally crazy.
Crazy times, right, Day?
Yeah.
So many people saying all these crazy things. Like the Wisconsin State Republican Joel Kitchens claiming he's an abortion expert because as a veterinarian, he did thousands of ultrasounds on animals. So mammalian fetal development, he knows it better than anybody else.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Okay, yeah, that is crazy pants.
Crazy pants.
That's
Totally crazy pants. Crazy. I mean, women, livestock, same thing.
Yeah, like
Right.
believing that Taylor Swift is a psyop for the government who is controlling the NFL and throwing the game for the Kansas City Chiefs, sending them to the Super Bowl just so she can be seen on screen during the big game wearing a Vote for Biden Harris t-shirt. Crazy.
Yeah, it's just totally crazy. Totally
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, hello, absolutely
Hello.
bonkers.
My name is Miri.
see.
For English, press 1.
Sisu, you woke up Mary with
okay,
the hello.
good.
You
Well,
did,
that's
again.
good that we woke her up because it's time for us to freaking wake up. We gotta wake up.
Shuffling, Wake Up Little Susie, and similar songs on Island Music.
Wake up, little Susie, wake up. Oh, I love that song.
Sue,
Oh,
were
I
you
love that.
were you a Susie? You know, when you were little?
Oh,
The
yeah, I was a
Sue or
Susie.
something?
Yeah, my mom called me a Susie, and I have cousins who still do. Yes.
You know, I actually don't really know that Wake Up Little Susie song.
Oh, that one? Okay,
Yeah,
well, it's
yeah.
about these kids, and they go to a movie.
Okay.
And then they fall asleep in the movie. And then they wake up like at 4 a.m, and they're like way past their curfew, and they're going to go home, and they're like freaked out that they're going to be in trouble. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what it's about, right, Mary?
Despite reaching number 1 on the Billboard charts in 1957, Wake Up Susie was banned from Boston radio stations for lyrics that were considered too suggestive.
Well, you know, 2 kids falling asleep
I
at a
know,
movie.
I
You know, were
know.
they really asleep?
Yeah, no, you're right. Maybe they were actually vaping and taking selfies and groping each other.
Did you mean Lauren Boebert now running for Congress in Colorado's 4th district?
Yes, I meant that, but that's okay. We can keep her in Colorado. That's okay. I think she just inhaled too many AR-15s. I mean, I really think that's the problem. But okay, I have always been a proponent for women should run for office. It doesn't matter what you think and who you are and what party you are and what your ideology is. Just run. Just we need women. We need women in Congress. We need women to run for office. However, I didn't plan on the crazy pants people running.
Yeah,
You know
totally
what I'm saying?
crazy
Yeah.
pants. Just
I
a
didn't
bit.
run it. I mean, so like Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley, back when she was governor of South Carolina,
Right.
in a newspaper interview, she said, and I'm quoting, "The reason I actually ran for office is because of Hillary Clinton."
Okay.
She went on to say, "Everybody was telling me I shouldn't run. I was too young at the time. I had small children. I should start at the school board level. I went to Birmingham University, and Hillary Clinton was the keynote speaker at a leadership institute. And Hillary said, when it comes to women running for office, there will be everybody that tells you why you shouldn't run. But that's all the reasons why we need you to do it." And Nikki said, "I walked out of there thinking, that's it. I'm running for office."
Oh.
And guess what she says now?
Huh.
I never said that about Hillary Clinton.
What? Wait. How can she do that? You know, say things in an interview and then say, I never said that. But you did. We quoted you.
They are crazy pants. That's why they are
gosh.
crazy.
Shuffling, Crazy, and similar songs from Island Music.
Crazy,
Oh, see, then there's that.
crazy for
Yeah.
feeling so lonely.
When you think of crazy this way,
I'm crazy, crazy crazy for feeling so blue.
Oh, this is such a great song. Mary, who is the artist that's singing?
This is Zippy with the Island of Discarded Women live show and podcast.
Oh my gosh, she's so great.
She is so great.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she is smart.
Yes.
She's kind.
Yes.
She's extremely talented.
No, maybe she should run for office.
No. She's got way bigger plans to change the world.
Yeah?
She's going to nursing school.
Okay, that is not crazy.
That is not crazy at
Great.
all.
Crazy for crying and crazy for crying, and I'm crazy for loving you.
We are crazy in love with you, Zippy. Zippy Lasky, Jay Yang, Silvia Pantaza. Now please welcome our musical guest, Katie Dahl. Katie Dahl, stage is yours.
I've been trying to lose weight since I was 8. 'Cause I saw a picture of myself jumping into a lake. I've been playing in the water for most of the day. And now the sun had set down most of the way. Big orange balls sinking into the gray. Me just jumping into the waves. I threw the picture away. Someone must have taught all the other little girls the rules. How to eat their cake and have this too. Someone must have taught all the other little girls what to do. How to want 'em all but take only a few. How to be flat and thin and new. Except that all the other girls seem to feel bad too. What a waste of time. It's just a waste of time. I'm not the kind of girl who cares what anybody else might say. I only hate myself a few dozen times a day. Then a few dozen more for feeling that way. Get hit by the bullet and the ricochet. It's a game I don't know how not to play. How does anybody learn to say, hey, not today? It's a waste of time. It's just a waste of time. such a waste of time. It's such a waste, and I don't have that kind of time. Nobody has that kind of time. I've been trying to lose weight since I was 8, 'cause I saw a picture of myself jumping into a lake.
Katie Dahl. Katie, thank you. Thank you so much. Uh-oh. There went the guitar. Too bad we're not in a lake. So I want to talk to you about this picture that you're referring to in this song. So you posted the picture on Facebook when the song came out, or in the last few months. And so I hadn't heard the song yet. So I saw her post. I'm looking at the picture, and it's this super cool picture of like a sunset. And there's a dock on a lake, and there's a kid in a silhouette, and you're looking at the water, and there's 2 pairs of feet, and you see the splashes coming up. It is such an artfully beautiful, wonderful picture. And you look at it and see a heavy kid.
Yeah.
And I see it, what an amazing picture. So then I listen to the song, and I'm thinking, I didn't see weight. I didn't see weight at all. And it's just what we tell ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's the messages that we tell ourselves.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think the message my mom would want to tell everyone is she took that amazing picture, and she's here, so I should give her the photo credit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where is she?
I don't know where she is.
Oh, bravo. No, it is. It's so cool. Well, at first I thought, are those fish flopping out of the water? I go, no, those are feet. Those are legs going in, 2 sets of them. And then you see, but here's the thing, Katie, it sort of surprised me. Yeah. I look at this really, really beautiful picture, and I'm thinking, oh, I totally get it. The kid on the dock goes, oh, no, I can't look at that picture. And you talk about wanting to throw it away.
Yeah, well, I think like the kid on the dock, that was the line between when I didn't know that I looked that way and when I did. There's a time in your life when you enjoy being in your body, and you experience the world as a body, as a person. And then there's a time when you learn, oh, that's not how my body is supposed to look. And I think that's the painful moment, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting in your song, too, you said the skinny girls weren't happy with their bodies either.
Right.
And that's just all those messages that we get. It's just, we just have to stop that. It's just crazy pants. Okay. This is from your new album, 7 Stones.
That's right.
And this album is, as you say, it's a sort of a deeper dive into your personal story. You were telling me, we had a conversation over the phone, and you told me that the working title was Things Katie Dahl Finds Hard to Talk About.
It was a little unwieldy, so I had
And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. Well, why not do that? Just say what it is. These are things. But then you went to say that on that list are body image, and then grief, and queerness. And all those things come up in this beautiful album. And then one more thing I want to say, because Katie's going to come back and sing some more songs in a little bit. You also posted on Facebook recently, after the album had been out for a while and you were getting a lot of positive feedback from it. And you were saying that you called it an album of terrifyingly personal songs. And that that the response being so positive and so supportive surprised you. Yeah.
It helped me.
Yeah,
I mean, I
helped
think the first few times I sang that song, I just sang, it felt so scary. Like it felt really, really scary to stand up in front of people and say that. And what I got back from people is there is a community that only can be found if you talk about things. There's a community in things that aren't visible, and you have to be open about them. And if you want to find your community in the invisible things, so I was really grateful to discover it.
You wouldn't know that it was there until you tried.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm.
And you did.
You had to do the scary thing.
You have to do the scary thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're going to hear another really scary song. No. We're going to do of the things that she's afraid to talk about. We're going to hear more later. Thank you so much, Katie. Thank you so much.
Somewhere in the bottom of an old shoulder bag from my 18th year lies an old billfold. In its pocket are faded words carefully written on torn paper that bear marks of countless unfoldings. It reads, "In the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer." The words of Albert Camus resonate with me like the deep ring of a Tibetan singing bowl, foretelling my struggles with childhood depression. Depression, a deep, unrelenting, painful blueness that scars your soul. It's something that's been with me most of my life. I remember the first moment when I became aware of this thick, dark shade coming down. I was 5 years old and in a tussle with my artistically struggling mother. I've done a lot of counseling about it, have gained insight on the passing on of generational pain, and have set up a therapy fund for my now grown children to access when they realize the source of their pain may have been their mother. Who got it from her mother? Who got it from her mother? All the way back to Eve. Oh, damn that Eve. Theology has been very unkind to Eve. Yeah, it wasn't her fault. The first time I was diagnosed with clinical depression, I was around age 42. Severe depression, the psychiatrist shared with tender eyes. She wrote out a prescription for antidepressants. Here you go. We'll get you feeling better. I just stared at her and finally said, I can't even imagine that. She paused her pen, lifted her compassionate eyes, stating, "There is hope. Hope as far away as distant stars in the night sky. What does hope even look like?" I've learned through years of talk therapy and medication that depression's pit of emotional annihilation is part of the landscape that travels with me. What was once a serious illness threatening to end my life has now become my teacher. So, 10 years later, in my 50s, after my dad died in hospice of Alzheimer's, I found myself in a new therapist's office beginning another painful journey. This time it was grief that swallowed me into the pit of depression where I wasn't sure I could ever get out of it again. I remember the therapist asking at our very first meeting, "What brings you joy?" I knew I was supposed to say my family. But the truth was I couldn't name a single thing, not a single thing. Out of my pain, I just said, "I don't know." He countered, "Well, that's your task. Begin to notice the slightest spark of joy. Look for it. Pay attention to it. See where it takes you." And so I tried for the next week and decided to go to a crafting fair because why not? Maybe I'd find something there that would grab my attention. And there was felting. Now, the interesting thing about felting is that you take hair that's been sheared off a sheep, clean it of bugs and burrs, then card it so that the fibers stretch out like a unified river. One of the artists showed me how to take the wool's fibers and add to it water, soap, and agitation. And then you got to knead it like bread. And you keep pushing and stretching to get the fibers to open their tentacles with just the right amount of water to get them to stick together and make a really strong fabric. Oh my gosh, we are like fibers. Fibers of the earth uniting or refusing to unite. Fibers can be ornery, just plain stubborn, but you got to stay at it longer than you think. Rocking it, you got to rock it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Can you feel it? Felting you? Felt is one of the oldest fabrics on planet Earth. So, imagine this. Long, long ago in a faraway place, shepherds in the field are tending their flock, gathering the herd for their yearly sheep shearing duties. On this day, the shepherds cut the thick and hot wool off the little sheep bodies that then run free. Bah! Oh, at the end of the day, there is this huge pile of wool that a few of the shepherds must now take to market to be spun into yarn. Well, off the shepherds go with the wool, while one sore-footed shepherd remains behind to tend the now frisky flock. To keep up with her flock, the sore-footed shepherdess picks up some discarded wool off the ground, stuffs her sandals with the fluffy stuff, and catches up to her herd. The sandal of wool combines with her dripping walking sweat and forms a cushion for her cranky calluses born on the rocky road of sheep herding. Who knew discarded sheep hair and stinky feet would turn into an industry for making modern-day crafty Christmas decorations? Well, I just wandered around that cavernous crafting fair learning more about the craft of felting, and I felt. I felt this tiny spark, like a car trying to turn over in a Minnesota winter. Locating that spark inside me was like looking up at the night sky and trying to catch the original moment of a star's trillion miles away blink, but I did. I felt it. And I stood still. You know, my last name, my maiden name is Woolever. Yeah, to help people spell it, my dad would say, wool lasts forever. Woolever. It's like I'm related to wool. Ah, wool forever, whispers my ancestors. I spent the next hour at that crafting fair learning more about wool. I held delicately thin wool fibers, fine as human hair, in my hands and began gathering small bundles of glorious colored fibers to take home to begin recrafting my soul awake. The next week, I was so excited to tell my new therapist about my life-changing felting discovery that I could just hardly contain myself. As we began our therapy session, he asked me, "And how did your week go?" Well, that critical voice that sits on my shoulder like an extra head from a monster movie began mocking me. "Hey, Mary, are you going to tell him what you did? You discovered wool, felt, and it changed your life?" Oh, I've never heard anything more dumb in all my life. Well, my armpits began perspiring. My brain replayed the critic's words over and over, flooding my emotional fibers into a drowning ocean of brokenness, and I got scared. Words just tumbled out of me that didn't make sense, and the therapist, he listened politely, but his eyes grew empty the more I talked, and I began to feel shame flooding my story into an unfeltable mess. My therapist nodded a silent approval, and he just moved us on. I left our session feeling lost, just wondering if I'd really found my golden spark or just a mirage of distraction. I kept going back to his office week after week until one day, out of the blue, he asks me, I want to ask you something personal. You've been a professional actor for a long time, right? Yeah. What's it like to be on stage? I mean, how do you do that? How do you remember all those lines? I sat quietly, words reactively rising to the 180-degree change in subject matter, pushing on the skinned boundary of my throat. Knowing I had flipped into the world of shame-filled assumption-making, my discarded pain screamed within me like a firecracker. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? What? Are you going out for a community theater gig and you're asking me for advice? You want advice from me on how to be an actor? I'm here for therapy, not to give you therapy for some lifelong dream. And you know, that's how shame works. It sits on your shoulder and whispers in your ear that you are so worthless, even a therapist doesn't care. Well, I answered his question like the good little girl that I am. We made another appointment and I left for good. And in spite of his ineptness, I did make my way into healing. And it did change my life by holding on to his very first question that he asked me on that first day. What brings you joy? In my brokenness with never-ending grief over my dad's recent death, I began to find joy in the most unexpected places, noticing it like the flickering star in the night sky. This part of my healing journey brought me into the world of chaplaincy, where both grief and joy coexist in life. Discovering this new resilient spark, I followed this call with encouragement into hospital chaplaincy, which means I had to go back to school, to seminary, to get my master's of divinity at age 52. I had to study clinical pastoral education, a kind of on-the-job training at a hospital for 2 years. I had to get ordained by my church, get board certified by the accrediting body that said I was safe and could be trusted around vulnerable people, and recently be fingerprinted. All these fibers of my life had to get felted together to change me into that which I didn't understand yet. A hospital chaplain? Between study and work, I've spent 15 years growing in the art of hospital chaplaincy work. These years have given me sacred ground in becoming who I am, the real me, accompanying both broken and joyful people on this mysterious and deeply personal life journey. Sometimes, you see, it is within the darkness of a cold and desolate winter that we discover a light shining in the darkness that awakens our resiliency for life, to not only heal ourselves but offer healing fibers to others. This is my spark of becoming wool that lasts forever. Woolever, Mary Woolever Shaffer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Mary Shaffer. Mary Woolever Shaffer. Thank you, Mary, so much. I was so taken by this thought of finding joy when we least expect it. So I put out the question to the cast. And Zippy, after I sent you this prompt, wondering about if there was something in your life that was bringing you joy that you might have found unexpected. You shared a very personal story with me, something that surprised you this past month.
Right. So it all started with doing the classic dry January. And, every year I say, you know what, maybe I could do a whole year sober. And I was like, you know what, this is going to be the year that I do it. So I committed to a dry 2024. And that felt so unbelievably scary to me. But it also, the more I said it out loud and the more it really, sat with me, I got this weird amount of energy and this sense of freedom that is hard to describe, but it's almost as if this thing that's been, hanging on to me, pulling me down, it's a liberation, it's a freedom. And you gave me that prompt, and this may sound kind of campy, but I've been listening to sober podcasts because, you got to go all in if you're going to do it.
Yeah. Yes.
And the podcast that played was The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober that very same day. And I was like, what? That is crazy.
Yes.
Crazy pants.
That
is crazy pants right there.
And so you've put all of that into this brand new song that you wrote for us tonight.
Yes.
So here's Zippy Lasky and Unexpected Joy.
Riding in a room so dark, do I dare turn the light on? I got used to messy art and spilling wine on my pages. But these stories do not sound like me. I wanna write authentically. Hot tea in my cup, I begin to sober up. Dancing in the highest heels, but now I take my shoes off. I guess I cared what people think, but now I care what I want. And I wanna dance so fast and free without anything stopping me. Barefoot on the ground, that is where I'll find myself. Never thought that I could do it. Here I am to prove that there's another rise. Past the night comes another daylight. If the sky is falling, don't give up, keep crawling. It's the smallest choice that brings unexpected joy. It finds you in your darkest hour, takes root and begins to flower into something brave and beautiful. Joy.
Thank you, Zippy. Thank you so much. Thank you. And we are all supporting you in this journey as you take it one step at a time. Zippy Lasky.
So, during the time I was given this prompt, It happened to be the week of my grandmother's 1-year death anniversary. So I couldn't help but think of her. She was a blunt and outgoing woman who helped raise my siblings and I since my parents worked odd hours. And though we did many things together, one of the things I am so thankful we did was cook. She started teaching me when I was 4, from butchering all the meats to preparing them for different dishes to the best way to make rice with this finger right here. It's the best tool. Food brought me and still brings me so much joy. Food was when we all gathered together. It's what ties me to my culture. It's what keeps me to her, to you, Grandma. It's your heavy cleaver hitting the cutting board, reminding me that you're there, that a warm meal is being prepared, filled with spices you'd instinctively knew to grab, and I knew I'd only learn of when you taught me what it looked like, tasted like, and where it grew. The steam of sticky rice filling the air. It's a memory of early mornings making yua, mung rice cakes, with you, which were my favorite mornings. It's the smell that triggers my taste buds. The child who couldn't wait to sink her teeth into the soft, chewy texture, mischievously reaching for a grain while you said, "Tacha." It's the air of my childhood. Sticky rice, mung sausage, and pepper sauce made by Grandma. I laugh to the pitter-patter of oil splattering and dancing when I jump away as I throw in the kayo, because I know you always had no fear frying egg rolls, and you'd laugh at me saying, "Oh, yo tose, yun chai." Yes, Grandma, it's scary to handle that much oil. There's nothing that can cheer me up more than getting in the zone, in the kitchen, that is filled with sounds I look for when I can't sleep, that are filled with memories of what we used to eat. And this joy you gave me that can live on even after you're gone, I hope to pass to my daughter and continue to share with generations after.
Thank you, Day. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Sue.
When we were talking about this earlier, and Day was saying that those sounds are so soothing and so calming of your grandmother preparing meals.
Yes.
That sometimes when you're dealing with insomnia, you pull up an ASMR tape, or the app, not tape, what do you type? Well, tape, apps.
Yeah.
To put you to sleep.
Yes. One of my favorite YouTube videos, it's ASMR cooking. It's called Peaceful Cuisine. Very fitting. I literally would put that on because then you hear the chopping and the steaming, and he cooks wonderful food. I don't ever follow the recipes, but I listen to them.
But you say you find them so calming and so reassuring, and they can also help you fall asleep. And I thought, what an incredible legacy to your grandmother, and what a tribute to your grandmother that she's created this way of finding joy in something that is maybe would be, "Grandmother, could you not hit the cleaver so hard on the thing?"
It was really loud, y'all. Like that woman was boom, 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 but
see,
put me to sleep.
Okay. Thank you, Day.
Thank
you so much.
Well, I tell everybody I'm on a quest to find joy at all costs. And going through my journal recently, I found many pages in which I have felt disappointed and defeated. And then I immediately discovered a change of tone in my voice that seemed to point to some sort of silver lining every single time. Weird. I didn't realize I was doing this. And at first I found it strange. And I told my husband, and he said, "You totally do that." So whenever I see difficulties with an unexpected change, a project that I am not looking forward to, or a problem at work that makes me question my ability or my sanity, I quickly seem to reorient my thinking and get giddy about it. And later, as time passed, I fondly remember those problematic times almost as an accomplishment. Am I trying to avoid being sad or disappointed for something that my mind quickly tries to see some light or to learn some lesson? Or is it the other way around? I don't know. Does anybody else tend to do this? Yeah? Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one. Are we in denial? Maybe it's denial. It's probably denial. However, I don't think trying to find some light in the middle of my darkness is terrible. Most of us have gone through such dark days, which can be painful to remember. There will always be bad moments in our lives. We all have to face them. However, what if afterward we revisit those dark moments from time to time and try to find something, maybe a small thing that makes us happy about it and stay with that as a way to move on? For me, it's almost as if I nearly got hit by a car. Sure, it could be a terrifying feeling to know that I almost died, and yet I'm still here. That's the realization that makes me feel like a winner. There may be a psychological term for this, I don't know. But if I had gone to therapy, maybe it might have taken me less time to reach this conclusion. But I have found that pain can sometimes be a source of joy. It can be big things like when I lost my dad or my father-in-law, two essential people in my life. But instead of drowning in sadness when thinking about my losses, I choose to be grateful for their lives and for our years together. The more time passes and I go through dark moments, the more I see every day like a gift. That despite all, I'm still here today, speaking to you. I have learned many lessons along the way. I am grateful for my past and the pain I endured because it has helped me to shape me into the person I am today. I am not the person that I was back then. And I think that is beautiful.
Silvia Pontaza, so beautiful. You are so beautiful. Absolutely. So when I was considering this prompt, what brings me joy that maybe I didn't expect, I was sitting in our newly renovated sunroom that looks out over our very large backyard, and I thought, mulch. Mulch brings me so much joy, and I'm seriously not saying that just to be funny. No. There are so many wonderful things that mulch does to the multiple beds in our huge yard full of trees and shrubs and perennials. Okay, so now my husband hates mulch. I'm sorry. He hates mulching. Let's put it that way. And he thinks the only reason that I like mulch is because it makes everything look nice and pretty. Okay, well, there's that. But that's just one plus. There are so many other benefits. Mulch helps to hold in the moisture into the ground and then keep the trees and the plants so they don't dry out and die. It helps keep invasive weeds away, weeds that could kill the plant. I mean, I don't know, mulch is like this wonderful blanket of protection, for all the living and growing and yearning vegetation in our yard. Okay, in fact, yesterday, the Minnesota Landscape Arboretum announced that their tulip bulbs were already coming up. Last day of January, because of the super warm winter we're having. And since they said it will inevitably get cold again before spring, they are suggesting everyone add an extra layer of mulch to protect the growing shoots. See? Mulch. All right. So besides mulch, the other thing that brings me so much joy is this. This right here. This right here. Thank you. All these amazing women who come up here every show and they share their hearts and their souls and their journeys with us and their gifts. And all of you out there who are just right there with us, bringing us so much energy to this island. Thank you. Thank you for being our mulch.
Finds you in your darkest hour, takes root and begins
Thank you, Zippy. Thank you for that. Please welcome back Katie Dahl. Katie, come on back. So, Katie, this next song that you're going to sing, okay, is also on your new album, Seven Stones.
Correct.
And it's called Sacristy. Just a little bit of background. You were telling me you grew up as a preacher's kid in an evangelical church.
Yes, many pastors, many Baptist church camp counselors. We were very Baptist.
Yeah, right.
Jello salad.
Jello salad. We had Jello salads in the Methodist church, too.
Yeah.
I'm a PK, and actually you'll find out later, Alison Young, our special guest, is also a PK. It's PK night, everybody. There are other PKs out there? Yeah, okay, good. A few. Okay, good. Welcome to the club. Going back to sort of the things that Katie Dahl is afraid to talk about, right? One of those things is your queerness, and specifically for you, your bisexuality. And you were saying that you got a lot of messages growing up in that Baptist church that was not cool.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we ever talked about bisexuality in the church because that would involve like saying the word sex. That would have been bad. But but we did talk a lot about. We did hear a lot about the gays, and I think when you say the gays, it's generally you can tell what the attitude is.
You can just you're almost gonna say you can stop right there.
Yeah, right.
So you came out to your mother first,
mm-hmm.
and after college you started dating a woman,
mm-hmm.
and then soon after you realized, I also have attraction to men, right?
Yeah, I mean, I had known that I was attracted to men too. I came out as bisexual, but I sort of thought like I was done with the men.
Yeah, okay.
And so I was surprised when I found myself dating.
So you're like
a
one
man.
of the gays,
right? I was one of the gays, so I thought.
Yeah.
But then I found myself dating a man, which was disappointing. No, he's here. He's very nice.
He's here. So we're gonna say nice things.
He's not disappointing at all.
Because he's now your husband.
I did marry him. Yes.
Yes. And you have a 7-year-old son.
That's correct.
Yes. So what was interesting to me is you said being married has sort of pushed you back in the closet.
Yeah, I was surprised. It was such a freeing thing to come out of the closet and to find a community, a queer community, and explore that part of myself, and then to suddenly feel that I guess I'm not part of that community anymore, was hard, and I felt increasingly sort of desperate about it. It wasn't that I didn't want to be in my marriage anymore, that I didn't want to be monogamous. It was just that I just felt like I don't feel like I'm being seen. Like some part of me that was important is still important, and it was invisible.
And also that once you got married, it was like, you're over your queer phase.
Yeah. And it's especially common of when people say they're bisexual for people to believe that it's a phase in one direction or the other. Like, you'll be straight soon enough, or you'll be all the way gay soon enough.
It seems like you're talking about even within the queer community. It's kind of like, I don't quite understand what this is.
Well, am I part of this group or not? I want to be. That's sort of what it felt like for a long time. And a couple years ago, I was like, well, I think I get to decide.
Yes,
if
you
I,
do. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
So I did.
Yes, you did. So this song, Sacristy, give us a quick rundown of this song.
Yeah, so, it's your standard, gay teenager in the evangelical church song.
Sure. One of those.
Yeah, one of those. You heard one, you heard them all. There was a lot of talk. I got so many things that I loved at church. I loved music. I loved so many of the ethics that I learned, and I loved the ritual. And I also got a lot of AIDS is the curse of the gays, or things like that. Yeah. So I got those messages, and what I know now, as I was a teenager, I was feeling feelings that I would now say are pretty queer feelings. Okay. And I know now that a lot of us were in that youth group, that I was not the only one. And this is a song sort of imagining, what if we had had the grace and the space to talk to each other? What if we had had the openness to find a community with each other, and what would that have done for us?
Yeah, the freedom.
Yeah. And mysteriously, when I wrote the song, the imagery became Catholic, but I think I was pretty clear.
God bless those Catholics.
Yeah, right. I know.
God bless them. Really. Katie Dahl, Sacristy.
When the Benedict bells ring They make you think of me, you and me inside the sacristy, with the wafers and the wine, my blood pumping like the organ, holding Bibles in our hands. You, the Canaan land, forbidden and fine. When I hear the bells of St. Jude, they make me think of you and all the pretty birds that flew from your mouth into mine. My swallows almost set to singing, sparrows almost took to wing. But if they knew anything, it's that God's eyes were on them all the time. You said the red velvet played with the quarters. Let's take 'em, we'll build ourselves a house on the hill. We can draw the holy water, water from our own well. In the hollers and the badlands, in the missionary van, you dressed up in your sunburn, I hid under mine. And in the evenings at the altar, Father taught us how to pray for all the soul sick and the sinners. You grinned at me, you said, that's you and I. You said the red velvet played with the quarters. Let's take 'em, we'll build ourselves a house on the hill. We can draw the holy water, water from our own well. When God spoke to Samuel, do you think it sounded like the Benedict bells? Everyone ringing out cracked and proud and clear. Back then I thought that we were serpents. I thought we brought the flood. Thought we turned water into blood. I thought we drank a wicked wine. But really you were an apple. And me, I was a dove, eating manna from above. I guess you knew that all the time. You know the red velvet played with the quarters. I took 'em, I built myself a house on the hill. Now I'm drawing holy water. So won't you come where the bells are ringing? You'll find me here in my house on the hill. We can draw the holy water, water from our own well, water from our own well, water from our own well.
Thank you. Katie Dahl, thank you so much, Katie. Before we move on to our special guest conversation, I just want to ask Katie, you are also a playwright.
Correct. That, you have to have like a fallback steady income, so that's where it's, yeah.
Yeah, because that is so lucrative.
Yeah.
And you were working on a brand new musical right now called The Northeast Corner.
That's correct.
And it's inspired by the real-life romance of Eleanor Roosevelt and Lorena Hickok.
So Lorena Hickok was the most prominent woman journalist of her day. She was the first woman with a byline on the front page of the New York Times. Wow. And was the reporter, not the woman reporter, but the reporter hired by the Associated Press to cover the Lindbergh kidnapping. So she was like for real. And she got assigned to cover Eleanor Roosevelt. And she was disappointed because she didn't want to cover women's issues. And they fell in love.
Yeah. You found all these letters, like thousands of letters.
Well, I mean, I didn't. A researcher found them, but
but
yes,
right.
I did.
But
I
you
did
found
read
the
them.
researcher,
Yes.
and then the thing. Yeah, we get that. So then this is the impetus for this new play. You sent me the proposal that you sent, and you were talking about what spoke to you about their story personally.
Yeah. I mean, so much. I on the one hand, like Hick is this reporter who cares deeply about her career, and I see her struggle with her personal life versus her career. I see them trying to balance those things. I see Eleanor Roosevelt like truly loving women and having this broad understanding of her own sexual self and being perceived as a straight person. I feel myself in that. I see like this queer history that has been whitewashed and never gotten into the historical record. And I see. Like, I just, as a songwriter, when you hear these two women, when you read these two women's letters, they just sing to me. They are just songs.
They meant to be songs.
Yeah.
She's going to give us a little phrase from this new song, and it's based on this quote from one of the letters.
Yeah, the quote is from Hick to Eleanor, and she's saying, "I can't really remember your face all the way." And she says, "Most clearly I remember that soft spot just northeast of the corner of your mouth against my lips."
That was from 1933. That's a letter, yeah. So now we're going to hear a sample of this.
Yeah.
Just a sample.
I made a map out of your face so I could find a resting place. I was born in the cold, looking for some place warmer. I love you west, I love you south, but it's the riverbank of your mouth. That's where I can stand. A soft spot in a heartland, the northeast corner.
Thank you.
So stay tuned. That's just a little snippet of this new musical Katie's working on. We'll have to have you back on when it's finished.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Okay.
I hope it's sooner than 20 years from now.
Okay, let's hope so. Well, you can start writing right now. How about that? All right, please help me welcome our special guest for tonight, Alison Young. Alison, come on up.
Hi.
Okay, here we
I am
are.
so excited to be here.
Oh, well, thank you for coming. I was going to do a quick bio introduction of you for people who don't know you and for the listeners on the podcast. Okay, so just a quick thing. So you have a background as a world-renowned flutist and, yes, sought after, and a nationally syndicated classical radio host. And then a neurological condition and other circumstances beyond your control diverted you from both of those paths. And you sought out the natural world as a place to heal. Yes. And now you embrace life as a solo female, titanium reinforced, long distance backpacker and cancer thriver. Walking 12,000 miles to date on 6 continents.
Yeah, I walk every day.
Okay, so I'm going to start at the beginning. So you studied at...
I was born.
So she was born. And then there was the flute. Okay, so you excelled at the Cleveland Institute of Music.
Yeah, I think I did.
In the flute.
I did.
Yeah.
I think I excelled there. I had like summa cum laude.
Yeah, there was all
up
those
there.
things.
Magna,
Yeah,
summa.
yeah.
Which one's higher, summa or summa?
Summa.
Yeah, I had summa.
Summa. I was sick the day we had Latin, so I don't know that part. Anyway, you became very, very skilled and proficient and became a very sought-after flutist around the world.
You know,
Big
I'm sitting
orchestras.
with a real flutist tonight, Emmanuel Davis, who teaches at the U. I know.
Wow, okay.
He plays still, right? So,
Okay.
So let's just make sure we're telling the truth, okay?
Okay, all right. I also grew up playing the flute.
You did?
I
My
did.
sister played the flute.
Who didn't play the flute? You played the flute. Susan played the flute. Who else played the flute? Anybody? Okay. PKs, flutes, there's a lot of things. Because you're a PK.
Yeah,
Yeah,
twice
big-
over.
Twice over.
Two dads.
Two dads. Okay, there you go. All right, so then you're recording albums, you're arranging flute concertos, you're doing solo gigs, you got the dress.
I've got
you got the thing,
many,
you
many
got
dresses,
the pictures, you got the thing on the covers of the thing.
I was so pretty back then, too.
I know.
You never appreciate that.
Say you don't.
You never appreciate
No.
what you had, right?
No, it's like we were going back to those messages we get. So you think you're prettier back then with your flute dresses on?
Well, I wrote this article recently. It was about regrets.
Yeah.
And instead of saying, no regrets, we're toughing this out, no regrets, I said, yes, regrets. Regrets are okay. Yeah. They can be good. They can help us because you look back at something and you regret that you didn't do whatever it was that you wanted to do then. And so you make sure you do it now, right? So you make sure you change.
So we learn.
You learn.
Yeah.
And the picture that I put up was this beautiful picture of me. I mean, I'm sorry, it's sorry to say this, but you can't be egotistical
own
about
it. You should own that.
It's 40 years ago, okay?
I saw the picture. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful.
And you're thinking, what was wrong with me back then? I mean, I didn't know I was lovely, and I also didn't recognize that I was playing the flute and I could play that well.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a picture that a friend sent me recently of the Tanglewood Orchestra. So most of you know the Boston Symphony Orchestra. Their summer home is in Tanglewood. How many of you have seen the movie Maestro? The final scene that they have, which is really with Leonard Bernstein, is at this place where I was playing, Tanglewood Music Festival. They're all in white. That's what you would wear. And this friend of mine sent me this picture, and the orchestra's just spread out. It's all of us. I'm sitting first flute. I have all this like long, crazy hair, playing like here. And here's Leonard Bernstein conducting.
Yeah, wow. Wow, is that so
holy
cool?
cow.
Wow. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's a holy
yeah.
cow.
Holy cats, that's what I like to say. So I was at that level. I mean, I played that, and I played with the Boston Symphony. I played with all these orchestras. I recorded, I toured. And then one day, 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
You were in your late 30s?
Mid-30s. I picked up my flute to play, and I couldn't remember where to put my hands.
Yeah, scary.
Just for a second, though, I was like, and I turned to my best girlfriend was the second flutist, Melissa. Yeah. And I said, well, that's funny. I can't remember where to put my hands. And then it kind of disappeared. It went away. I remembered. But what was happening is I was developing a neurological movement disorder.
Yeah.
It's called dystonia. Some people call it musician's dystonia or focal dystonia. I mean, I can hold this microphone, I can write and stuff. But when my hands go on the flute, on the left hand, it doesn't remember what to do.
Yeah.
So, all of those years, it's with developing brain because you're an 8-year-old when you start to play the flute. And all those years of and you don't even think about it would be like, I can't remember how to stand up. I mean, it was...
Well, I'm sure you're thinking, this can't be possible. I mean, you talk about how you tried all these treatments and physical therapy and, maybe I'm just tired. Maybe I'm just overly stressed. Of course,
not practicing hard enough.
Yeah, I'm not practicing hard enough. I'm not... And so you push. And why wouldn't we? But like, hey, I am a top flutist in the world. What do you mean I don't remember where to put my hands? And how devastating that must have been, because you finally walked away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So one of the treatments they have is Botox.
Yeah.
See how much younger I look, too? No, I'm just kidding. They stick it right into your hand, right into the affected limb.
I bet, sure.
And you have to do it over and over again. I didn't see enough of a difference. So there came a day when I had to say, that's it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, of course, I guess you're owning it, right? But there's this risk that you take of accepting or saying the thing.
Yeah.
Because when you take that risk, that means you are going to go into an unknown future.
Right.
You have
of course.
No idea what's
You're in
next.
your middle 30s. You're thinking, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life.
I mean, I knew I was going to marry my husband, who's sitting over there.
Okay.
So that was a good thing. I had something good.
Okay, good. That's good. You like that. You like that.
I had no idea what I was going to do for a living. I mean, there was a moment there where I thought, well, I suppose I could teach or I could... But when you can't play, you sort of... It all starts to get a little confusing.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Well, and then when you said you were looking for other fields, wasn't it a friend who said... Well, you know classical music really well. Maybe you could be a classical radio announcer.
Well, actually, it was one of my preaching fathers.
One of the fathers, yeah.
He said, find everyone you know, and this is the networking, and just talk to them and say, I don't know what to do right now. Do you have any ideas? Do you know anyone? I mean, just obviously you could get with like a career counselor, but it was. And I had lunch with the president of Houston Public Media. We were living in Texas. And I was sitting with him in his office, John Prophet, and in walks the director of news. And she just, I recognize you, because I'd come in for interviews for flute stuff at the radio.
Sure. Right.
And she said, could you read this, please? And I said, I'm going to read this? Why? And then it was like, and chocolate, blah, 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 blah. I mean, maybe she just wanted to see if I was, like, literate.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was about.
Yeah,
and it was like an audition. And they said, do you want to work here? And, this is great. So
you're like, what?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
So my first day of work as a radio host, they started me on Super Bowl Sunday.
Oh, seriously? Nobody is listening to classical music on Super Bowl Sunday. There were two. Well, that's good.
Well, there was the president of the station and my husband, I think.
Oh, okay. Well, that's two. That's two very important people.
And the first words that came out of my mouth were, a prairie home companion will return.
Oh,
after.
Funny.
Yes.
Funny.
So you and I go
So maybe
way back.
I was there.
You might have been with me.
What year was that, dude? What year was it?
2005.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I started in 92 with those guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you did that for a couple of years, and then you got hired. Did you get headhunted? You got hired by Minnesota Public Radio?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was a funny place. University of Houston is where the station was, and it was like this magical moment in radio, I think. It was before we were really getting into digital broadcasting and not so much on the internet yet. So people really relied on their one station for the classical music and for the classical shows.
Yeah.
And I went in, what I did was I hosted this Sunday afternoon when no one listened. And I had an internship in the newsroom, which was really, really fun.
Oh, yeah.
I learned a lot about
Yeah.
interviewing and producing music and stuff and doing all the kind of lining up of tracks and stuff like that. I learned everything I use today at Houston Public Media. And eventually, I was very glad I came here because they ended the entire classical station. It's like an online thing now. It's just gone. The show's gone. Everything's gone. So I was a little bit headhunted, and I came up here, and I was still pretty new.
Yeah.
And I worked for Minnesota Public Radio, 99.5 KSJN, Minneapolis, St. Paul, live streaming. I always got it memorized, right?
So you worked for Minnesota Public Radio then for 13 years.
13 years, yes.
But in the meantime, you love hiking. You have since a kid.
Yes.
It was just something that you loved, and it fed you, and you thrived.
Well, I was
at
a preacher's kid twice over. Okay,
Yeah.
so you got to get out of the house a little bit sometimes, out of this world.
I'll go for a walk. Good for you.
Yeah,
you go
bye.
for a walk.
And I was
for 3 days. Okay, we'll see you later.
The youngest of and there was all kinds of complications of remarriages and stuff. So I was the youngest of 5, and all boys, and they didn't want a girl around. So I did a lot of kind of adventure walking.
Yeah.
And I'd go off on my own. My earliest memory is looking down at my little toes. I would think, boy, these can take me places. Think of all the power we have.
Yeah.
You can get away, but you can go see stuff. And when you guys were talking about unexpected joy, that's exactly it, is you can go find it.
Yeah.
So walking was always a solace. And then I started doing more backpack trips.
Yeah.
And I kept trying to I would work solid. I'd work on the weekend so that I could get more vacation.
Yeah.
And then I would
these
take,
trips.
I would go, okay, I'm going to go 2 weeks and 3 weeks and 4. Can I extend it to 5 weeks at one time, and do a trip? And I fell in love with it. Backpacking it's a big commitment. You're going out into nature like a hiker to see these amazingly beautiful things, but you're sleeping out there.
Right.
So you have to protect yourself from the creatures.
Right.
You have to bring your food,
Yeah.
And you deal with whatever weather comes. So it's
what was interesting to me, so tell us what a through hike is. As opposed to just a backpacking trip for a week or a couple weeks. So a through hike, that's like 4 or 5 months.
Not necessarily. So the Superior Hiking Trail is a full trail from Wisconsin. It's near Jay Cook State Park is where it starts. I guess if you're going north, and then ends at the Canadian border, 310 miles. And
that's all.
It's a long way, right? But you can hike it as a through hike, which means that you're doing it all at once and you're hiking through.
How long would that take?
Well, it took me 16 days.
Okay.
So
how long would it take me? 16 months.
Do I have to answer that?
I like creature comforts.
It depends. Well, it's
are there hotels every night?
There are.
Okay.
Well, not. I mean,
okay.
Yes.
No.
That's a great hike to do because it's on. Does everybody know what the Superior Hiking Trail is? It's on the North Shore.
We know the North Shore.
So it's very close to civilization. I mean, if you consider like the North Shore to civilization, I guess it is.
Well, yeah.
I mean, there's hotels, there's restaurants, and towns. But I camped out there, so there's campsites and stuff. So that's a through hike.
Stringing together this journey that you're on.
Yeah, like get to the point.
And the reinventing. And the reinventing and the remaking. So the flutist, who then becomes a classical music radio announcer, at one point you wanted to try a through hike. You wanted to hike the length of New Zealand.
Yeah. So
and that would take months.
Yeah. So this whole kind of craziness, it just seemed natural. So I had hiked the John Muir Trail. It's a famous trail. It's not as far as the Superior Hiking Trail. It's 210 miles, but
Let's go.
But it's high altitude. It's the entire Sierras. I did that. It was thrilling. Some of the most beautiful countryside in the world. I hiked the Traverse of the Alps. It took me 4 weeks, 450 miles. I mean, it's a long distance. A lot of change of scenery, a lot of crazy French people, but it was good. It was good. So I had done these hikes, and I knew like Dystonia was such a leveler of all of the I don't know, the things you build up in yourself that you think, I'm going to live forever, right? And everything's going to be the same forever. And of course, it's not. Things can happen, and terrible things can happen that we don't expect, that we'd never heard of. My great-grandmother and my grandmother and my mother all had breast cancer. I knew it was coming for me. And then there was arthritis. Everybody was having things replaced. And I thought, if I'm going to do something big, I better do it now.
Yeah, right.
And what people, when they really talk about a through hike, they mean things like the Appalachian Trail or the Pacific Crest Trail or, these big trails that are, thousands of miles long and would take months to complete and then would become this sort of full-time job or a lifestyle.
Right,
you're going to put your whole thing into this. And so I thought, I really want to do that, and I have this job, dang it, and if I play that one Beethoven overture one more time, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right, exactly. So I loved my work, but it was, it was getting kind of samey. And I was determined to do this thing. And I also thought that if I chose something like the Appalachian Trail, it's right here. It's in the United States. I could go anytime.
Everyone speaks English.
I need to go somewhere far and exotic.
Yeah.
But also it would cost me so much money to get there. There is no way I would quit. Because, what are you going to do? Call home? I got to come home?
Right.
You're going to stay.
Get an Uber?
Yeah, you can't.
No.
So I was looking up, like, what are the best long trails in the world? It's like the Te Araroa. What's the Te Araroa? Te Araroa is...
Te Araroa.
Te Araroa. You have to say it with like this.
Te Araroa.
The Te Araroa. Well, it's not the Te. It's Te Araroa.
Te is the.
Te is the, and Araroa's long pathway. And it's New Zealand's Appalachian Trail.
Wow.
So it's almost 2,000 miles. It's 3,000 kilometers, North and South Island.
Wow.
And I was determined. And I remember keeping it kind of secret. Like, I'm not going to do this.
Because you would need months to do that.
Months to do that.
Yeah.
And I remember we were all, I used to do a lot of rock climbing, and we were at a campsite up on the North Shore, and we were all sitting around the fire. And I said, guys, I want to do this thing. I want to hike this. How the heck am I going to do it? And someone said, why don't you just ask for a leave of absence from your job?
Oh.
A leave of absence from your job. It never even occurred to me.
Yeah.
So I asked for a leave of absence from my job, and they said yes.
Yeah.
And then they got rid of me.
And then
there was that.
And then there was that. So you get a leave of absence. You sell your flute.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You sell your fancy flute.
So after I got dystonia, it sucked so bad. I was really depressed. But I gave my music away. I sold stuff. I'm never going to listen to music again. That didn't last long. And I kept my professional flute. I was like, I have no idea why. It was, and it's valuable. And I didn't really play it. People would say, don't you play for fun? And it's like, this is not fun.
No,
to have
because
your hands.
you were so used to the certain level
it's
that
not
you
fun.
could play. Yeah.
So I kept it, and Richard and I were actually hiking on the Superior Hiking Trail, and I thought, how the heck am I going to go to New Zealand? I mean, I've asked for a leave of absence. Okay, I'm going to do that. But it's expensive. And I realized my flute is worth exactly as much as I needed.
Whoa.
So I sold it.
Yeah.
And you know what was really great? I sold it to an adult student of mine who plays it. Like, she's an engineer, but she plays it in an orchestra, and she, it
has a new life.
It has a new life.
Yeah,
she sounds wonderful.
Yeah. Well, so you do the te da 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 da. So you do that. You're gone for 4 or 5 months, and you come back, and they go, actually, we've made a change in your job.
Yeah, they asked me to be on call,
and you're going to be on call now, and it's like, that doesn't maybe work for me.
Well, I did one call. I did one. An overnight.
Yeah.
And they called me up, would you be willing to come, you arrive to work to start at 11 at night, and you work till 6 in the morning. Did I say that loud enough?
Who is listening there?
Well, it's carried worldwide because it's on a service.
Okay.
But I did one overnight, and, it's what I do, and I can do it. And then I said, no.
Yeah.
No.
So you walked away from that as well.
Oh yeah, and Richard, my loving husband, said to me, I was really not happy when I came home.
Bet.
I mean, I could have just stayed in New Zealand longer, but I came home and thought I'd have a job, and I didn't. But anyway, But he said, you know what you need to do right now because you're depressed? First of all, you need to find your joy, right?
Yeah.
And he said, the way you're going to find your joy is you're going to go right back on trail. And I was like, wait, I've been gone for 5 months.
Yeah.
And you're telling me to go back.
And my husband is telling me to go away again.
So he said, there's another trail you really want to do. And
Yeah.
I said, the Pacific Crest Trail, which is California, Oregon, Washington. It's another one of the very famous national scenic trails of the United States.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to do it. And he said, I was like, what are people going to think? What? I have a reputation. I mean, and he said, first of all, no one cares. No one gives up. No one cares. And you are 100% boss free.
Yeah.
And it was like, you're right. So I was still in the state of, confusion. Everything was like the world was shifting. I was crying all the time.
Of course.
And I bought a one-way ticket to Seattle, took a bus to Bellingham, Washington, met some trail angels who took me up to Hart Pass, and I started walking south on the Pacific Crest Trail in Washington. And Richard said, if she picks up, I sent some food ahead in boxes, resupply is what we call it. And he said, if she picks up her second resupply, she's going to do the whole thing.
And you did?
And I did.
Wow. And how long did that take?
5 months.
Okay, so now you're a professional hiker. You have a podcast called The Blissful Hiker. It's amazing. And she's got all these, she's got all these, she takes these beautiful pictures of these gorgeous vistas and these unique mushrooms and all this stuff in between. And then you record found sound.
Found sound.
You have a sample.
I have a sample.
She's going to hold it up to a microphone.
The setting sun pancakes into the clouds, orange and pink. Fog that hung over the water this morning and delayed my trip is gone now. Only a memory in washed-out haze on the horizon, fading into the slate-blue cliffs of Canada.
Cool. Okay, so obviously she's got her beautiful voice there. But so you've got your phone and you're recording on your phone.
Yeah.
How do you keep your phone charged?
Oh, everyone asks that. Oh, my God. Okay.
I know, but I'm sorry. It's kind of like, how do you learn all those lines? I know it's going to be a stupid question, but it's like,
no, it's not.
How do you keep your phone charged? And what did they do? What did Lewis and Clark do? They didn't have a thing.
They had
or maybe
crew.
They did.
They pressed people into service. I only carry, it's an iPhone. Yeah, okay. I only carry a phone, and I have a battery. So a lot of people ask, like, why don't you use solar power? And it's because I don't totally trust it. I mean, you may have lots of sunny days, but you may not have enough.
And you put the solar thing on your backpack?
You put it on your backpack, yeah. And I mean,
what about a windmill? Great. You could have a windmill thing.
So I have a battery, and then you have to go into town. And when I did this hike of Isle Royale, I hiked for 9 days, and that's like the absolute max power of this. It's a battery.
Wow,
about
but
this
that's
big.
pretty cool. That's a lot.
It's pretty cool, yeah. So it charges my phone. Well, I mean, you have everything turned off, so you don't use a ton of power.
No, right.
But you have the phone, I have a GPS so that it has an SOS in case I'm in trouble, and I can communicate with Richard through that as well. So I have to charge those both up. One of the things I wanted to say about the phone that's always interesting to me is when I'm walking, I'm constantly on the lookout for stuff. I'm looking for that joy.
Clearly.
I'm looking for those joyful things. Like you said, the fungus, some days it's so rainy and so miserable that when you see these beautiful red, creepy little mushrooms, it's exciting. It's a wonderful moment.
Yeah.
But, people will say, oh, but then you're looking for a picture and you're not just in the moment. It's like, no. That's not it at all. When you have your ears open to hear that sound, or your eyes to take a picture or a video, or yourself, in front of something, you're framing the entire experience.
Yeah.
And you're on the lookout for it. You're so super hyper present in the moment. It makes it richer, and I love sound. I mean, because of flute, because of radio.
Yeah, sure, of course.
I love the sounds that are around me, and they do surprise me. I mean, especially in spring.
You've got some beautiful ones, some birds and all kinds of stuff. You also talk about when you hike on these really, really long hikes, and sometimes you're doing 22 miles a day, or all this stuff. You don't listen to anything.
No
earbuds, no podcast, no music. And you're just in the moment.
Yeah.
And does it get boring?
So it gets hard sometimes.
Yeah, right.
Hard. You get in your head a lot.
Yeah.
But these miraculous things can happen on trails. And I had a pretty rough summer last summer. I was going to do a lot of hiking. And then in May, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I was like, shit. I thought, okay, come on, enough now. Dystonia. My list of blissful hiker, solo female, middle-aged, titanium. It gets really long.
It gets so nuts because now you have cancer
titanium,
thriver at the end.
Yeah, titanium hips, neurological. And so I was kind of pissed. I thought, this isn't it enough? I've had like one terrible thing. Do I have to have more? And they were doing all this stuff. They did a surgery and like, we're going to figure this out. We don't know what it is. And I had a plane ticket to go to Maine.
You were going to start the Appalachian Trail.
Appalachian Trail,
yeah.
in which was crazy. And my doctor said to me, she was so great. She said, the best thing for your prognosis is, like my husband, get back on trail. You're 100% phosphate. Get back on trail.
Well, because you said you've always found the hiking to be very healing.
Yeah.
So you start that, but you had a lumpectomy to find out.
I had a lumpectomy.
They didn't know if it was cancer yet.
No. And then I got the call, and she
2
said,
weeks
you got to come home.
You were already on the trail for 2 weeks, and you get a call.
Yeah. And they said it's the bad kind, so you got to come home and got to pull these off.
So you have a double mastectomy.
So I have so I am an ultra light hiker. I love it. Wow. I love it. I know.
Okay, so here's the thing. So she comes home, she gets a double mastectomy, she heals. 4 months later, she is back.
7 weeks.
Wait, how long? You're back on the trail, and how long after having a double mastectomy and all the kind of stuff? 7 weeks. Yeah. That is crazy pants.
It was a little bit crazy pants. And the problem with the Appalachian Trail this year is that it was the worst weather in memory. I mean, you notice how we're having no snow?
Yeah.
Maine and Vermont, they had flooding rain. I mean, one hiker, God rest in peace, it was washed away. I mean, died. So, yeah.
Yes, right. We were talking about that.
Terrifying.
Yes. Right.
But for, a hiker going there and thinking, oh, this is going to be so, spiritual, and I'm going to reach my happy place. It was pouring rain and miserable.
Yeah.
And you're walking over the top of something. You've worked so hard to get to the view, and it's just fog. And you can't stop at all, even to like have a snack, because you'll freeze, right?
Right. And you got to keep moving.
You just got to keep moving. So one of the weird things that happened on the Appalachian Trail, all these things like the cancer and yucky stuff, and I bring these things to the trail.
Oh, you do?
I bring them, and I say I'm speaking to the goddess. It could be wisdom, it could be like the smarter part of me. It's some voice, it's something. Yeah. And the conversation is my voice going back and forth. It's, what am I supposed to do? Well, here's what you should do.
Go to the Toyota.
Yeah, go to the Toyota. So I remember. I mean,
so you're having a dialogue with yourself out on the trail.
Oh yeah. No one's there. I mean, no one cares. Yeah. And it is rock climbing. I mean, you stuff your sticks into your pack and you're using your hands. Yeah. It's easy to go up. You can just fling your body. Coming down,
right?
I mean, you can wipe out. It's so, and you hold on to things, and I'm just slipping, and I'm going on and on with this. And I say I could either do A, I could do B, I could do C, and I'm going, and then all of a sudden, Maya Lynn, why don't you do D? This fourth.
Wow.
Something you never thought of.
Yes.
So, I mean, there is like scientific studies about, the actual footfall, and it brings the blood to the brain. It kind of massages our creativity, our thinking.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, walking is good for you, but that's what I do when I'm really bored.
No, it doesn't. It sounds like what you said. You're bringing the issues, you're bringing the struggles, you're bringing your frustrations, you're bringing your anger with you on the trail. You're releasing it on the trail.
Yeah, I leave it there.
And or finding the next step. You talked about the 3 pillars that you strive to live
I wrote them
by.
on my hand so I wouldn't forget.
I have them here too.
So I keep going back and forth between, I've been writing these different things, and one was about like the pillars of reinvention, and sort of the things I learned from trail. And what were they again? Oh, yeah. So I gave this talk recently to the Forbes Councils, and I said the first thing was accepting, was saying that things are changing.
Yeah.
Because there's kind of a risk taking in that of like, what's going to happen next? It's the unknown. And you've sort of crossed the threshold in a way, kind of like what you were talking about earlier, Katie, with like, you've stepped into something once you've said it. And then the next thing was to grieve. Yeah. So I love this. It's Viktor Frankl. He was the Auschwitz survivor who was a psychologist and pioneer in that entire field. And he talked about the tears that people had and that there's no shame in having those tears because they're brave enough to be alive. Yeah. They're brave enough to be fully alive and living and present in the grief.
Yes.
So that was the second. And then the final one was to believe in abundance, believe that there's more. And the person that said that to me was when I was all teary and like everything's going to hell. My husband said to me, give everything away. You'll make more.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, talk about a paradigm shift.
Right.
That, you can lose things. You can let go of that. The flute, I mean, I miss it. It was a great time. But there's more to have. There's more that you're needed for. Well, you
found so much more. And what's so wonderful is I know that, you've got the podcast and you do these long hikes and then her blogs, her writing, you're so honest and they're so wonderful and they're so revealing. Sometimes you just say, I don't know how I can keep doing this. I don't know why I keep doing this. I'm having a horrible day. Or you break down weeping. And then the next thing it's like, oh my God, look at the view from the top of this mountain. And it's funny, I read all this stuff or I listen to this thing. On one hand, I'm thinking, ick, I couldn't do this. I couldn't do it. It's too, I couldn't do it. On the other hand, I think, I want to do an adventure like that. To me, I think you instill, it's like, well, I want to try that. Of course, my husband goes, you?
They don't have much mulch. Yeah, there's not much mulch out there.
Can I bring the mulch with me? Anyway, you bring this sort of the joy out of the hardships or out of this reinvention. I mean, if anybody has reinvented yourself from this to this to this, oh, and then there's the cancer too, by the way. Oh, did we tell you that? Yeah, there's that too. And it's just, you're such an inspiration. I know that's easy to say, but I truly, truly believe it. You're an inspiration and a motivator.
Thank you.
You're very motivator. Thank you. Alison Young. Alison Young. That's our show for tonight, everybody. That's our show. Thank you so much. Thank you again to Alison Young. Also, thank you to Katie Dahl. Katie Dahl, thank you so much. And thank you to Mary Shaffer. Mary Shaffer. Come on up, everybody. Come on up. And Day Yang and Silvia Fontaza and Sylvia Lasky. And thank you to our captioner, Erica Cook, and John Robinson at the board, and Bonnie Allen, thank you, and Carolyn Denton and Suzanne Egley, and thank you to Crooners. And big thank you to Nancy Scott and David O'Connor and Tina Mulder for helping to sponsor the travel expenses to get Katie here. So we appreciate that. Yes. Please visit our website at islandofdiscardedwomen.com, and we will see you soon for another Island of Discarded Women. Thank you, everybody. I'm Stu Scott. Good night. Good night, good night, good night.